Thanks. Senator McKenzie.
Thank you so much. Mr Phillips, just remind me again, and what did you do your doctorate in?
I didn't do a doctorate.
Your master's?
I've got a first-class honours degree in econometrics.
In econometrics.
And 18 years experience in economic modelling.
Excellent. All right, NatSem's very proud of your independent reputation, aren't you?
Yes.
And this modelling that NatSem has done has been quoted far and wide. Who was the client that asked for this modelling to be done by NatSem?
So initially there wasn't actually a client, so we did modelling. We did a piece in the conversation, so the modelling was in that case, was completely independent. And post to that we did do work for the ALP. But of course...
What work was that, Mr Phillips?
So that was work on what would the potential implications be for student repayments. The ALP had no input into things like assumptions or the results. So as you'd be aware, we have a range of clients. We have worked for the ALP, we've worked for the Liberal Party in the past. We've worked for organisations through the entire spectrum. So we've worked for example, ACOS, we've worked for organisations like PricewaterhouseCoopers, KPMG, we've worked for government organisations like Treasury, so we have a very broad range of clients, but ultimately we're a university research organisation, we're an independent organisation, and the results that we obtained through that work, which was a very small consultancy, I will add, with ALP.
How much were you paid for this work? I'm just conscious I've got a very short amount of time now.
A small amount of money. I don't think I need to talk about the actual financial side.
I'm sorry, Mr Phillips, and we went through this again. It's a Senate inquiry. You can answer the question.
Yeah, it was a very small amount of money.
Yeah, you can bully him all you like. He doesn't have to answer that Senator particular question. And you have been all through this before, so...
I have not asked Mr Phillips how much he was paid to develop the website tool that is on the ALP
Look,
website.
I mean, another piece of work we did was the GST back in 1999, which we did a very large amount of money for your party, and the work was independent and very credible.
I'm informed
by the Secretariat that it could be commercial in confidence, but that's a decision for you to make, Mr Phillips.
I don't think it's relevant. We do a range of projects.
Well, it's either commercially in confidence, and if it's not that, then I think Senator McKenzie is entitled to ask the question and have it answered.
I've asked the question.
Yeah, I think it's commercial in confidence. We don't need to talk about it. I don't think it's relevant. We do a range of projects for a range of organisations.
Is it commercial in confidence, Mr Phillips, or not? It is work that has been passed done.
Mr Phillips has said it is, so move on to the next question.
Okay, fine. NatSem, wholly owned by University of Canberra?
Correct.
Correct. When did that happen?
Look, I think in 1993 we became part of the University of Canberra.
Has there been any change on the governance and control of NatSem?
Oh, there's been various changes through the years, yes.
Can you run me through the last 3 years?
The last 3 years, so we had a new director.
Who's the new director?
The new director we had a new director, Alan Duncan, back in I think 2010. He recently took up a position at Curtin University. As a result, we formed a new institute, Governance Policy Analysis, at University of Canberra, obviously. That's headed up by Mark Evans.
Yep. Okay. In an article on the 15th of February, you said higher education fees will drive up inflation. Do you still stand by those comments?
Look, if university fees increase, that obviously drives up inflation. It's an important component of the CPI.
We've also heard evidence throughout inquiring into this particular issue that university degrees, cost of university degrees to students will decrease. Are you aware of that evidence?
I've heard various people make such claims. I don't take them seriously.
You don't take TAFE directors seriously?
I think in terms of university fees, there's a very strong expectation prices will rise. Most of the experts would suggest they'll rise. There's always some people who have an alternative view. I haven't looked into the TAFE system, so I can't comment on that. It's only it's only a relatively small part of the market.
In the reform package to actually include all of higher education, not just what's occurring at universities, wouldn't you think your modelling would take into account the range of prices that students will be offered, particularly around nursing and teaching?
We looked at 23 different university courses, and we averaged across all the existing universities.
But not those non-university higher education providers. Did you include them in your modelling?
We have not included, say, TAFEs. No, I have not included TAFEs, and I've not done modelling.
How much does it cost to do? Well, I would encourage you to actually review their evidence to prior committees, because they are very, very clear in how much degrees will cost, particularly in teaching and nursing, and what changes these reforms will actually bring to those. Dr. Watson, I just wanted to quickly go to your submission where you recommend that we recap university places.
Yes.
From an equity perspective, given the demographic of students that have been able to access higher education as a result of the former Labor government's move to a demand-driven system, can you comment on what the impact of recapping university places will be for those particular demographics?
The Labor government, when it uncapped fees, also introduced a number of programs to support the enrolment of students who are underrepresented, particularly students from the lowest socioeconomic quartile. Uncapping places didn't seem to have much effect on the enrolments of those students. The university sector was only making very slow progress towards that target when I last looked at the figures. There's no evidence that uncapping places has a trickle-down effect on equity outcomes. If governments are serious about increasing the participation of underrepresented groups, such as low SES students, Aboriginal students, and other minorities, then targeted programs are usually the most effective way to achieve that, and also financial incentives that change the performance of providers. There's a fair bit of research to support that conclusion, and the base funding review also covered that issue.
I only have one question left, Ms Watson, so I'm just going to go to your comments, and I note a Vice-Chancellor has walked into the room, and I'm looking forward to asking each Vice-Chancellor that comes before us today that your claim that we can take $5 billion out of the higher education system to no effect, that there's actually that much fat in the system. That's not what I've had put to me by Vice-Chancellors, and I'm just wondering if you could clarify your earlier statements.
Okay, that statement, you've misrepresented what I've said in my submission. I have simply said that if Commonwealth subsidies were reduced, as the current government is proposing, and the amount was transferred to HECS, then there wouldn't be any noticeable impact on student behaviour, and there would be budget savings. I thought that the government was interested in achieving budget savings, which is why I've made that suggestion.
Dr. Watson.
I thought you. Well, I think we'll have to leave it there to. And Mr. Phillips and Professor Watson, are you able to just give us an extra couple of minutes, because it would be fair to give Senator Rhiannon